everyone. In this video I'm going to talk about some tips and best practices for story times at the library. My main focus will be on preschool story times, but many of the things I'll talk about you can apply to baby times, toddler times, and preschool story times. So my first tip is to have a basic story time structure. And I've provided the Scappoose Public Library with my general outline for how I organize my story times. But you want to begin story time usually with the same rhyme or the same song, because it really does help the children understand that it's the beginning of story time and that it's a welcoming song. So it's telling them they're invited, we want them there, and we're glad they're there. It also helps if you can have whatever books or felt boards or props or puppets, anything that you're going to be using, you need to have set up before time and in the order that you're going to use it, so that you're not fumbling around when it's time to actually read or sing a song. So you're not making the parents or the caregivers or the children wait on you. It's good to alternate your picture books with either a song, an action rhyme, maybe it's a finger play, or anything that kind of gets the kids up and moving around, because it's really hard for preschoolers to sit still for multiple stories in a row. Another tip is just to read slowly. I know it may feel like you're going very slow, but for children, the slower the better even. I mean, especially if they've never heard the story before and it has new words in it and the concept may be different to them, just take your time and make sure to pronunciate your words clearly. My next tip is to just make sure that you're alternating stories with action. And there's a lot of good research actually on the benefits of doing rhymes and songs with children, such as, well, I mean, not only does it allow them to participate in the story time, but it develops phonological awareness, so you're teaching them how to differentiate between sounds. You're also aiding in their development of coordination and dexterity, especially a lot of the finger plays and a lot of the actions require them to move about and to mimic some of the actions that you're doing. Halfway through the story time, if you notice that the kids are getting really antsy, maybe they're having trouble sitting down, you know, just have them stand up and do a quick round of Itsy Bitsy Spider, head, shoulder, knees, and toes. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes is a great one because you can start slow and then you can get faster and faster. So don't be afraid to just add something in based on the way your participants are reacting based on that specific story time. The next tip is to think of your story time as a performance. So you want to rely on some of the dramatic conventions that actors and actresses use. So for example, voice projection, so being nice and loud, audience awareness, so keeping in mind how they're reacting to you, prop manipulation, especially if you're using a felt board or any type of puppets, pacing, making sure you're going at a pace that works for 3 to 5-year-olds. So that may mean the first time you sing a song, you sing it really, really slow, and maybe you sing it multiple times through so that the kids get a chance to actually learn it. And then continuity, so making sure your story time flows and that it's almost like a little story of its own. My next tip is pretty basic. It's just to practice and prepare. So you want to know your songs by heart. You want to know which stories you're doing and when. To be, like I said, like you're a performer. You want to become practiced in the art of storytelling. The next tip is how to actually choose what to do for story time. Some people, some librarians just keep an eye out for good books, and when they find a book that they really love, that they think would do well in a story time, they will create a theme based on that book. So they don't think of the theme necessarily first. I know one librarian, she just has like this Excel spreadsheet, and every time she finds a book, she puts it into different thematic categories she thinks it would fit well in. Other librarians kind of choose books that they know work really well, and maybe some new books that they've never tried out before. And then they mix those two together And the story time doesn't necessarily have a theme to it, but it's a mixture of good books and books that they're wanting to see how children react to. My next tip is to model how you want the parents or caregivers to interact with the children. So when you're reading the book, try to ask questions, which is part of dialogic reading. So try to get the kids to interact. It's okay to pause in the middle of the story and ask them to make a prediction or to take a guess at what they think is going to happen. You want to model for the parents how to interact with the kid as they read. And this could also be pointing to words. So maybe there's a really big word, maybe there's a stop sign in your book. You could point to that as you read, and that's pointing out, that's print awareness. So it's pointing out to the kids letters and words that we see on everyday objects, and that's a really good thing to do as you read. Another tip is to change your voice for different characters. Kids love this, and it's a great way to help them decide on point of view and to differentiate between the characters, because that's something that adult readers know instantly, but for kids it can be hard. So changing up your tone of voice as you read is another good thing that you can teach parents to do. Lastly, my last tip is to really promote your collection. I mean, I think one of the points of Storytime is to get those books circulating, and I can't tell you how many times I've observed a Storytime and the librarian just forgets to say, and we have all these great books in our collection on this topic, please come check them out, and to have them there at your Storytime, standing up, not sitting down, so that they're clearly visible to the kids. If you have a lower table, that's great too, because then the kids can come up and get them. And to offer your assistance on helping the kids find a book that will be a great fit for them. So really promoting your collection and promoting yourself as someone who could be of service to your parents, caregivers, and children. So those are my tips for how to conduct a great story time. I hope you found those helpful.